You are 34. You are sitting in a private room on the 4th floor of a hospital that has actual carpet in the hallways. Your father is asleep in the bed. A doctor named Ellis just came in to check on him. He knew your father's name before he looked at the chart. He asked about his golf swing. 10 years ago, you sat in a hallway on a plastic chair next to your father on a gurney because there were no rooms available. The nurse who took his vitals was efficient. She did not sit down. The doctor who saw him held the tablet and looked at it more than he looked at your father. The bill came 11 days later and your mother cried at the kitchen table. Same man, same body, same illness, different room, different doctor, different silence. The difference is not luck. The difference is not the doctors. The difference is one thing you started doing at 24 that nobody in your family understood, and 10 years of being told you were being paranoid about it. This is how doctors and hospitals treat you at every level of wealth, and nobody in the waiting room knows which level they're on until it's too late to change it. You are 24. It's a Thursday in July. Your father collapses in the driveway. You are on the phone with him when it happens, mid-sentence about a lawnmower, and then a sound you will hear in your sleep for the next 10 years. You call 911 from the office parking lot. You drive 47 minutes to the hospital. You do not remember most of the drive. The waiting room is fluorescent and half full. The chairs are plastic. There is a television playing a home improvement show with the sound off. A man in the corner is holding his wrist in a way that suggests it's broken. Your mother is already there when you arrive. She stands up when she sees you and does not know what to do with her hands. The woman behind the glass takes your father's insurance card. She types the policy number. She slides the card back without looking up. That look, or the absence of it, is the first thing you notice, and it will take you 3 years to understand what it meant. Your father is on a gurney in a hallway, not a room, a hallway. The nurse who takes his vitals is professional. She is not unkind, but she does not sit down, and she is gone in 7 minutes. A doctor sees him 40 minutes later. He is holding a tablet. He asks 3 questions. He orders a test. He is gone in 4 minutes. You sit on a plastic chair next to your father's hallway bed for 6 hours. Your mother holds his hand. Nobody comes to update you. When you finally ask, a nurse at the desk tells you they'll get to it. That's the phrase, they'll get to it. Like your father is a form. The bill arrives 11 days later. $18,400 after insurance. Your parents' deductible was $6,000 they didn't have. Your mother sits at the kitchen table with the paper in her hand and does not say anything for a long time. Your father is fine. The care was real. The system worked in the technical sense. It just worked on you, not for you. 2 weeks later, you meet Frank for lunch. Frank is your father's oldest friend, 26 years in finance. He doesn't give advice unless asked. You tell him about the hallway, about the bill, about the 6 hours. Frank chews. Frank swallows. Frank says, "Do you know what a hospital actually is?" You say, "A place where people get better." Frank shakes his head. Frank says, "A hospital is a room with a number on the door, and the number on the door depends on the number on your card. Most people find out which door they get on the worst day of their life. That's not a decision you can make in the parking lot." You stop chewing. Frank says, "You just watched what door your father got. Now you know." You don't say anything. Frank wipes his mouth. Frank says, "You don't know it yet, but 10 years from now, you'll remember this lunch as the cheapest insurance you ever bought." You drive home. Your father is on the couch watching television. He waves without looking up. That night, you sit at your kitchen table with a piece of paper. You do the math. $300 a month, every month, into a separate account for the next time, because you already know there will be a next time. You fold the paper. You put it in a drawer. You do not know it yet. You are 26. Your mother needs a knee replacement. She's been putting it off for 2 years. She doesn't tell you it's getting worse until you notice her flinch getting out of a car at Easter. You ask. She says the same thing your grandmother used to say, "I don't want to make a fuss." She has the same insurance she had 2 years ago. You have been paying $300 a month into that separate account for 18 months now. There is $5,400 in it. It sits there. It doesn't do anything visible. Your brother Kyle noticed it once and asked what you were saving for. You said nothing. He laughed and said, "For what? A rainy day? Just live, man." Kyle is 24. Kyle just leased a black Audi. Kyle just moved into an apartment with a rooftop pool. Kyle also has $340 in his checking account on the day your mother's surgery gets scheduled. You go to the appointment with her. The orthopedic clinic is in the same building as the emergency room from 2 years ago. Same building, Different floor, different everything. The waiting area has 3 chairs. There is coffee in a pot that looks like someone actually cleans it. A receptionist named Diane knows your mother's name before your mother says it. The specialist is in the room within 14 minutes of the scheduled time. He is not rushed. He has read the referral. He does a physical exam that lasts 19 minutes. 19. You time it because you cannot remember the last time a doctor spent 19 minutes doing anything. He orders imaging. The imaging happens the next morning. The results are back by Friday. He calls your mother personally to review them. The surgery is scheduled for 3 weeks out. Your mother is nervous. Your father sits at the kitchen table and doesn't say anything about the money. That is his way. You know it now, though you did not know it then. The out-of-pocket total is $4,100. The $5,400 in the drawer covers it. Your parents don't know about the drawer. You don't tell them. You just handle it. Your father would refuse the money if he knew where it came from, so you let him think the insurance covered it. Your mother is home by Wednesday evening. Your father makes her a sandwich and puts it on a tray. She takes a photo of the sandwich and sends it to you with 2 purple hearts. You sit in your kitchen. The paper is still in the drawer. You open it. The number is smaller now. You add a new column. You start again. Kyle calls that night. Kyle asks if he can borrow $600 until Friday. His card got declined at a restaurant. You say yes. You don't ask what for. You already know. You do not know it yet, but you just paid for the difference between a hallway and a room. And nobody at the table on Thanksgiving is going to know you were the one who paid it. You are 28. This is the age nobody warns you about. You have $19,000 in the drawer. Nobody has needed it in almost a year. You are starting to feel like an idiot for having it. It sits there doing nothing while everyone you know is doing something. Kyle bought a boat. He can't afford the boat. He posts photos of himself on the boat. You meet a woman named Sarah at a friend's engagement party. Sarah is a nurse. Sarah works in the ER at the same hospital where your father spent 6 hours in a hallway 4 years ago. You don't tell her that on the first date. You don't tell her on the second one either. On the third date, she tells you a story without knowing what she's telling you. She says the hardest part of her job isn't the trauma, it's the families in the hallway. The people who came in with the wrong card, or no card, or an expired card. She says you can see it in their eyes the moment they realize which door they got. She says it every shift. She says it happens to nice people all the time. She says the worst part is that most of them thought they had it figured out because they'd been paying premiums for a decade. You listen. You don't say anything for a while. Then you say, "My father was one of them." Sarah looks at you across the table. She says, "How long ago?" You say 4 years. Sarah says, "What did you do after?" You tell her about the drawer. Sarah puts her fork down. Sarah says, "Nobody your age does that." You say you know. Sarah says, "Don't stop." You drive home in silence. You think about that phrase for the entire drive. Don't stop. 2 words from a woman who watches this happen every night for a living. 2 words that Kyle would laugh at if he heard them. 2 months later, Kyle wrecks the boat. He was drinking. He wasn't badly hurt. He got a ticket. The boat is totaled. He didn't have proper insurance on it. He calls you at 2 a.m. from a police station and asks for $4,000 to cover the tow, the impound, and a lawyer. You send $2,000 and tell him that's what you can spare. That's a lie. You have $22,000 in the drawer by then, but you already know what happens if you give Kyle the full amount. It won't be the last call. It will be the beginning of every call. Kyle doesn't speak to you for 6 weeks. Your mother calls you and says he's struggling and you should help him. You say you did help him. You don't say how much. You sit in your kitchen. You open the drawer. You do the math you've been doing for 4 years. You do not know it yet, but the drawer is not a savings account anymore. It's a door, and you're the only one in the family who's built one. You are 30. This is the year that almost breaks you. Sarah is your wife now. You got married in a small ceremony in the fall. Her parents came, yours came. Kyle came late and left early. He got a job at a construction company after the boat. He's doing okay. He looks tired. The drawer is at $47,000. Sarah adds $200 a month of her own to it. She calls it the door fund. Nobody else knows what that means. In March, your father-in-law has a stroke. You are in your living room when Sarah's phone rings. You see her face change. She drops the phone. You pick it up. Her mother is on the other end, sobbing, unable to finish a sentence. You get the address of the hospital. You drive Sarah there in silence. She does not cry. She stares at the road. Her father does not have good insurance. He is a self-employed contractor who chose a high-deductible plan to save money on premiums. He has been paying $340 a month for years for a card that has a $12,000 deductible attached to it. He is stabilized in the emergency room. He needs a neurologist. The wait for a neurologist on his plan is 6 weeks. He does not have 6 weeks. You sit in another fluorescent waiting room. Sarah is holding her mother's hand. Sarah's mother keeps saying, "We should have gotten the better plan." You go outside to call a doctor Sarah works with, Ellis. Dr. Ellis. He's a family practitioner Sarah has worked with for years. He owes her a favor for a shift she covered when his son was born. You explain the situation. Ellis makes 2 phone calls. One neurologist can see Sarah's father in 6 days instead of 6 weeks, but he doesn't take Sarah's father's insurance. The cost of the visit, the imaging, the follow-up, and the medication out of pocket is $14,200. Sarah looks at you. You go to the drawer. You don't tell Sarah's parents where the money came from. Sarah does. She tells them that night in the hospital cafeteria. Her father cries. Her mother cannot look at you. 3 weeks later, Sarah's father is home. He is going to be okay. The neurologist caught something the ER would have missed if he'd waited 6 weeks. Sarah's mother sends you a card. Inside the card, she has written one line. You gave us a door. The drawer is at $32,800. You sit in your kitchen. You do the math. You have to start over. 6 years of saving, half of it gone in a week. You could easily feel like you lost. You don't. Something has changed. You cannot name it yet. Kyle calls that same week. Kyle needs $1,500 for a car repair. You send him $500. He says thanks. He doesn't ask about anything else. He doesn't know your drawer just saved a man's life. You do not know it yet, but you just found out what the drawer was for. You are 32, the year you meet Ellis for the first time in person. Sarah's father is doing well. He and Ellis stayed in touch. Ellis is 61. He drives a 9-year-old sedan. He wears the same glasses he wore in his medical school photograph on the wall of his office. He is not rich. He is calm. Ellis invites you and Sarah to dinner at his house. His wife makes lasagna. There are books everywhere. There is a piano nobody plays anymore. Ellis pours you a glass of wine and asks about your work. He asks about your parents. He asks about the drawer. Sarah told him about it. You didn't know she had. Ellis says, "You know what the hardest part of my job is?" You say, "The patients." Ellis smiles. Ellis says, "No, the families. The families who show up on the worst day of their life and find out that day what kind of card they've been carrying. The look on their face when they realize which door they get. I've been watching that look for 34 years. You put your glass down. Ellis says, "Your father-in-law was one of them. He would have been one of them without you. The reason you can't see the door you built is because from the outside, nobody can. It's not a car. It's not a house. It's not a title. It's just a number in an account nobody talks about. And on the day it matters, it's the difference between a hallway and a room." You don't say anything. Ellis says, "Your father-in-law is going to be at your daughter's wedding one day. Because of a drawer nobody in his family knew you had. That's the whole thing. That's what it's for." You drive home. Sarah is quiet. Halfway home she says, "He's right, you know." You say, "You know." The next morning you go to a gas station. You pump $22 of regular. A man at the next pump is filling a black Escalade. He is on the phone. He is saying, "Yeah, no, I'll figure it out. I always do." He hangs up. He looks at you. He nods. You nod back. You drive home. You sit in the kitchen. You open the drawer. The number is at $61,000 again. You are ahead of where you were before Sarah's father got sick. You cannot explain why. You just know that when you needed the door, you had it, and now you have it again. You do not know it yet, but the doubt is dying. The drawer is still the drawer. You are 34. The Tuesday your father collapses again. You are at work when your mother calls. You know before you answer. You know from the ringtone. You drive to the hospital, not the one from 10 years ago, a different one, in a different part of the city. Your father is not in a hallway this time. He is in a private room on the 4th floor. The carpet in the hallway is real carpet. The nurse who takes his vitals sits down. She asks him about his golf swing. Ellis is not your father's doctor, but you called Ellis on the way. Ellis called a friend. That friend is the cardiologist standing at the foot of your father's bed right now, unhurried, answering every question your mother has. Your mother does not know how any of this happened. Your mother thinks the insurance got better somehow. The insurance did not get better. The drawer got bigger. You have been paying, quietly, into a supplemental plan for your parents for 4 years. You didn't tell them. Your father would refuse if he knew, so you didn't tell him. Ellis helped you set it up. He said, your father would never accept it as a gift, so don't give it as one. Just handle it. The out-of-pocket total for the 4 days your father is in that private room with the carpet in the hallway and the nurse who sits down and the cardiologist who answers every question is $8,900. It doesn't come close to touching the drawer. Kyle arrives the next morning. Kyle is 32 now. Kyle looks 45. Kyle sits in the chair next to your father's bed and doesn't say anything for a long time. Later, in the hallway, Kyle says, "How is he getting all this? Mom said the insurance changed." You look at him. You say, "It didn't change." Kyle stops walking. Kyle says, "How long?" You say 4 years. Kyle sits down on a bench in the hallway. Kyle puts his head in his hands. Kyle says, "I've been buying watches." You sit down next to him. You say, "I know." Kyle says, "How did you know to do this?" You think about Frank. You think about Sarah at the 3rd date. You think about her mother's card that said, "You gave us a door." You think about Ellis at dinner saying, "That's what it's for." You say, "I saw what door Dad got the first time. I decided I'd build a different one for the next time." Kyle says, "I can't afford to start now." You say, "Yes, you can. You just can't afford the watches." Kyle laughs. It is not a happy laugh. It is the laugh of a man who just heard the truth for the first time in a decade. That afternoon, Frank calls you. Frank is 68 now. Frank is retired. Frank says, "I heard about your father. How is he?" You tell him. Frank says, "You remember what I told you at that lunch 10 years ago?" You say you remember every word. Frank laughs. Frank says, "You didn't save money, kid. You bought your father a room. That's the whole business." He hangs up. You go back into your father's room. He is awake now. He is watching the television with the sound off, the way he has watched every television for as long as you have known him. He looks at you. He does not know what you have done. He is never going to know. That's the whole thing. That's what it was for. You sit down in the chair next to his bed. You think about the man at the gas station, the woman with the Escalade, the nurse 10 years ago who did not sit down, Ellis, Sarah, Kyle, your mother, Frank. They all saw a hospital room. You saw the door. Maybe you're the person paying $300 a month into a drawer nobody knows about. Maybe you're the one secretly worried you're being paranoid. Maybe you're Kyle, buying watches, thinking the door is something you'll get to later. Either way, there's a hospital room waiting somewhere in your family's future. What door it has on it is being decided right now at a kitchen table nobody's ever going to visit. Drive safe.